Hello and welcome to this anniversary episode for Let's Get Deeper. I'm Josh, and this episode, as I briefly mentioned before, is just a commemoration episode of the fact that it's been 3 years since I came out publicly. So once again, I'm here with Eunice.
Hello.
And as usual for these commemorative episodes, it's going to be her asking me a whole bunch of questions that I have no idea what I'm going to say. So it's going to be a fun adventure.
Yay.
So
thank you for having me. I feel like it's actually such an honor to be the one chosen every year to do this with you. Like I've just noticed, it's just hitting me now that it's actually really nice and special. So thank you for choosing me to do this.
Yeah.
So 3 years, which have flown by. What do you think?
I don't know. See, it's like I reflect 2020 merged into 2021 so strangely.
Yeah.
Some days I'm just like, what day is it?
Yeah, what year am
What
I?
year is this? And then I keep hearing, because I had a meeting not too long ago, and then one of my colleagues was like, I keep hearing 2020 because it's coming so close. Mate, we are like literally 3 months away.
3 months away. That's So it's been 3 years since you came out. I remember that day very clearly.
Yes, I do too.
How about you? So 3 years on, what do you remember, from that day?
What do I remember?
Yeah.
It's still quite vivid.
Yeah.
It's still, I remember, I think I remember like the anxiety around everything and that decision to just turn my phone off. I remember turning my phone on again and then seeing, I think there was something like 12 missed calls.
Yes.
But then I remember all of the positive comments.
Yeah.
So it's a very vivid memory that I think will stay with me till I die.
Yeah.
Because it was risky. And I think every episode I've said, every anniversary episode that we've done is that I knew it was a risk to even get to that point, And looking back, it was probably the best path to go down to.
Yeah.
I don't think any other way would have made it, push the outcome to where it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You did it in the most on-brand Josh
I
way
know.
possible.
I hate it.
You hate it.
In fairness, I've been reflecting on storytelling and how that works. I've had friends recently ask me oh, how do I journal and stuff? But I was like, I don't journal. I can't. Everything that I journal is audio.
Yeah.
Or audiovisual.
Yeah.
For me, and I think this just stems from maybe family stuff, is the way that I tell my story has to be in my own words, but when I say that, I mean verbally. I can't write it down.
Yeah.
Because it lacks emotion.
Like the tone and stuff.
Tone and the long pauses or the gravity of how it's said.
Yeah.
The emphasis is very different in writing.
Yeah.
I found.
I agree. It's a very artistic thing to say. And yeah, it was such a beautiful video actually. And yeah. And that day we have photos of that day.
I know we have
went
photos
and
of
watched
that
the
day.
play.
Brisbane Festival.
Yeah.
I think I picked quite a good time too because, for Brisbane, Pride Month is September.
Yeah.
That's a very symbolic thing for the city of Brisbane. So I couldn't have picked, I think, a better month to at least,
time.
do it in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I wouldn't have done it any other way.
And what do you think has been the biggest difference, 3 years on since coming out?
I think it's visibility. Not just for myself, right? Because, every queer person expresses themselves differently. But visibility in that I can be visible when I work. And at the moment, I work with, in my two roles, I work as an academic, but also I work as a as a counselor for youth and young people. And being visible in schools, I think, has hit me harder than I thought it would have.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I don't know, I'm just very proud to see young people, and by young people, I mean like early to mid high school kids, being able to proudly proclaim they're part of the queer community.
Yeah.
Makes me so happy. And while I wish I had that, I acknowledge the fact that because I went to a Christian aligned private school, that was never going to happen safely. But also I had family things going on at that time, and I don't think I would have ever been able to do that. But seeing it now, I'm just happy to be able to just be visible.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I could ever hoped for.
Yeah. That's so special, like being able, to acknowledge that you didn't have that experience when you were younger, but now that you are here, you are sort of like paving the way for younger people to be able to do that, to be able to be more open about who they are at an earlier age kind of thing.
And I think more so for potentially like young queer Asian people. Specifically. And my hope is that by being visible is showing them that there is a way forward. Right. Because essentially I've basically put a target on my back, right? Because Filipinos, as we know, are very close-knit.
Yeah.
Our communities are quite small and diasporically, everyone practically knows everyone else. Yeah. So for me to be visibly queer and still have a good relationship with my family, I think still speaks quite a lot to how risky it can still be for some people, for some queer Asian people.
Yeah.
So it's doubly I don't want to say it's not a burden, but it's something that I acknowledge I have a lot of power in doing. So doing the best I can to be visible and still, and show the fact that my parents still, I'm still part of the family is still something quite strong to show.
It's like a positive experience in that regard. Yeah, but you acknowledge that other people don't have that or might not have that, but that you can show that your experience it went well.
It went well. Yeah. And that's not to say that it had teething issues at the beginning. But we're still here.
Yeah, there we go. We're still here. We're still standing. Yes. Yeah. And have you had any sort of conversations with people in the Filipino community about being out and about being gay?
Not really. And I think that's because I made a choice not to. I don't know. It's tricky. In Brisbane, we have factions of Filipino communities, and that's widely known. I made a decision a number of years ago now. Let me think about that. 5 years, I think, to step away from the factions and then, focus solely on building the university communities that we have. So for me, it was important, especially after I came out, to ensure that the university communities that I was looking after were inclusive and were able to hold space for quite a number of people, no matter what their sexuality or gender identity was.
I see. So rather than you putting that effort into specifically the Filipino community, it was more into the communities at university.
Things that I could control.
Yeah, and things that you chose before you came out, you chose to put more effort into that, which was the university groups. Yeah, I see.
And maybe in the future,
yeah,
I'm sure that by being openly queer and openly visible, that'll happen more and more often, I think. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And I remember at our 2-year checkup. Check-in.
Medical.
I know. Why do I sound so medical right now? Your 2-year checkup. We talked about boys.
Did we?
I think so. I think
I thought that was first anniversary.
I think we did it. At
Okay,
the
I guess that's a recurring theme.
I think it's gonna always be.
It's a dangerous theme.
Yeah, it's like love and dating and
oh God,
romantic interests.
oh sweet Jesus, yes, yes.
So, I'm wondering what has been happening in that sphere?
Honestly,
that you're comfortable talking about online.
Honestly, it's been a lot. And I think people who follow my socials have recognized that. But it's been, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
In terms of relationships, where do I see what is my enthusiasm for them?
Mm.
I think that wholly depends on who my partner is.
Mm.
Like, what do I, like, I don't remember if I told you about my type. I have.
I think you have.
Oh God.
I feel like you have.
But yeah, it's been a very interesting past 12 months, I think.
Have you learned anything about yourself within that specific context?
Patience is a virtue.
Oh yes. I like that.
I think that patience will probably stay with me in relationship. And it's like, it's not that I'm desperate, right? But I guess it's not desperation, but it's also a longing.
That's a great word, longing.
A wish that I could have a partner, boyfriend. And I think we've mentioned this on our, like one of the conversations we've had in the past year is that to be able to actually say that I have a boyfriend is something that I think is very important to me because of a lot of things, right? So I think it's just that desire to get to that space where I can be able to say that I do, but also not have, I think that's the tricky part, is that not having to hide the relationship. I think that's going to be the tricky bit. Is that for one reason or another, could be that the person that I fall for is not comfortable at the moment. And that's fine, I think, but it'll come to a point where I'm like, dude, you kind of have to. There's no going back, right? So yeah.
So I'm sensing that you're saying that because you said visibility is important for you as an individual. So you're saying it's sort of important as well as a couple, or you hope?
Yeah, I hope that would be. I hope that it would be.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be for the exact same reasons again as me being visible solely as an individual, as a queer individual.
Yeah.
Because again, we return to the same reasons as like Filipino community is very small. The chismosa is quite powerful. So it's, just having to bite the bullet sometimes and just be like, yeah, this is my boyfriend and that's that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm
no further questions.
We're here and
that's fine. We're here, we're queer, and that's we're absolutely okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. What do you think are your biggest hopes for the next year? That is 2022.
Oh God. I don't. In terms of relationships?
Yeah.
Or are you thinking holistically?
I'm thinking more holistically. So that's a very big question. Take it how you want.
I get to continue to be visible. And maybe next year we'll try and get more involved in having conversations with other queer Asians in community. That's something I know that I would have loved to have done. But for circumstances, obviously, it's been difficult.
Yeah. And
having to adjust, to work life and getting used to the fact that it's a never-changing environment that we're still living in.
Yeah.
I have not been able to dedicate the energy and time to have that. But hopefully next year that changes. But yeah, that's that holistically.
Yeah. Yeah, just to have more conversations.
Yes. Relationship-wise, I have no idea.
Yeah.
We'll just wait and see.
Yeah. And I guess that comes to that thing where you're like, patience is a virtue. And I think you are living that.
God is really telling me the long game.
The long game.
God really told me you can wait for the long game, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess
I mean,
so.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
But I know people have asked me, look, Josh, when are you going to like actually do something. It's like, I don't know. I really don't know. And it's not that I don't want to, but it's just, waiting can be difficult.
Yeah. I so want to acknowledge that, you know, because there is a longing there, and at the same time, you're also trying to be really patient. And so that can be really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I had a question, and it's completely come out of, it's
just disappeared.
It's just left my mind.
Great.
Which is really great. If you could say anything to Josh when he first came out, what would you say to him?
Cycles are a thing. Everything somehow comes back full circle. And it'll be painful, but it'll be, hopefully the payoff will be worth it. Yeah. I think that's that.
I think I remember what I was going to say is just when you spoke about, you know, relationships and wanting to do something but you're not like sure. I guess I just want to say that is so valid, like in relationships in general. It's like timing, but it's not necessarily like a straightforward thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And I think being queer just makes things even more complicated.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that, it sounds like you've done a lot of like reflecting on yourself and what you want and what you stand for. And yeah. Because
I've had questions asking me like, "Oh, do you want kids too?" I'm just like, look, I don't mind having raised my own siblings and my cousins, younger cousins, and you know, I had my podcast kids. I still have my podcast kids.
You're still a dad.
Still a dad. I wouldn't mind having children. But that's a conversation I have to have with my partner.
Yeah, I hear you.
And that is something we both have to talk about.
Yeah. So I guess I have this question about, you know, you specifically talk about wanting to be visible to queer Filipino people.
Yes.
So I guess what would be something that you would say to someone that is maybe like contemplating, you know, wanting to come out to family?
That they may blame you or they may blame themselves. That's going to be an immediate reaction.
There's going to be blame.
Blame is always going to be involved, right? They'll ask you, is it because of something that happened? I guess you just got to be honest. Right. But give them time. I think what I've been grateful and appreciative of is that my parents have actually, I guess, reflected.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've asked questions sometimes. I'm just like,
yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Where both of you have asked questions already. What is happening? So I think, you know, leaving them to their own devices and just, you know, giving them that opportunity to grow themselves without intervention from me.
Sure.
I think has actually led to quite a nice place where I am now.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. And that's like just so parallel to the whole like patience, you know, like you said, you know, patience is hard. And I'm sure it hasn't necessarily been easy for you to give them a lot of this time, but you gave it to them and it actually worked out like for the better without you knowing if it would, but it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh, it's such an emotional episode, and I just thank you, you know, so much for sharing and being like so open, you know, with your journey. It's so real. It's a real experience, and I hope people that are listening can really, you know, get something from this. You know, it's a great opportunity to hear your story.
Yeah, and I wish that, you know, because we're recording this back to back with one of our Unpack This Brain episodes, I wish we were able to get our special guest on.
Yeah.
Because I think that would have been a very interesting conversation to have had.
Yeah.
So who knows what will happen next year? But did you have any other more shallow questions? I was going to, where are we going? I mean, you brought up boys again.
The boys, it's so funny because I was thinking that I was really trying to balance out the deep with the not so deep.
with the hideously shallow.
Because like the boys thing was a good, not so deep question.
Yes.
Let's keep going down that vein. So you did say like you have talked about your type, but let's like refresh that. Like, what does it look like now? Is it still the same? And what if it is so? Like, what is it?
What did I say my type was last time?
I slightly remember quiet.
Okay, yes. Yeah, sure.
Like quiet, specifically Asian background.
Yes. Yeah, that hasn't changed.
Yeah, and then like potentially like I don't know if you mentioned STEM or you might have just said like something around around academics.
Or maybe.
Potentially.
I can't remember.
Yeah. But what is he like now? What is the type now?
Is it bad to say has to be at least fit to some extent?
Ooh, no.
I think that's because I've been on that journey too.
Yeah, so this is a value of yours.
How things have changed and how things have stayed the same, huh?
I like there's differences now.
Yes, there are differences, and
Yeah.
I think that just demonstrates the fact that over time it's been like, yes, health journey too.
Health is wealth.
Health is wealth. HELTH is WELTH. Wealth. But yeah, that I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't. I would still prefer it to be Asian. Someone who's Asian. I think that will still be a. Yeah. I don't know. Like, my parents have been like, I haven't asked them explicitly. I'm just like, I think about it sometimes, like, would it be easier if it were just filler or Singaporean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the gap isn't as present, I think. But also, I know that I'm just aware, I guess, that to at least get my parents to adjust to the fact that I have a partner, I shouldn't be bringing some rando.
Okay, so someone that maybe your parents know.
Yeah, relatively, or have known, like, know of.
Yeah, not just a rando.
Not just a rando. Can't necessarily, that. I guess establish the relationship first. I think that's the biggest thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Then we'll go from there with my parents. But yes.
Yeah.
Smart, creative could be also a good thing.
Yeah.
I just need someone that compliments all my bloody Instagram.
Someone that is like into that.
Yeah. That'll be good.
That can like see the value in that rather than it's like, why is taking photos important?
Yes.
Because some people are like that.
Some people are like that.
They don't care. You're like, get out.
Get out.
You're not on the
Sorry,
list.
had to cross you off.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of it, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's not even baseline. That's actually quite picky.
But it's pretty good because I think it really relates to maybe how you are and like what stuff that you like to do as well. So like it makes sense you'd want someone that like likes the same.
At least it's complementary.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Complementary is good because at least then you'll feed off each other and grow together.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing is that my view on relationships, particularly romantic relationships, is that you have to make sure that it's a reciprocal thing.
Mm-hmm.
That you have to learn and grow together.
Mm.
You don't necessarily have to be on the same page. It'd be nice, but generally in the same direction.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, and that's why it's like, for me to then introduce my future boyfriend to my parents, I think we'll need time.
Yeah, right. And you know that because is it because of how your parents are or like how comfortable you'd feel?
I think it's a mix of both of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. What's a solid list? It sounds like a very gold star list. And, I wonder if anyone fits that at this very point.
I like, as for shits and gigs, I just want like Ariel and Gavin and Rand just be like, if y'all want to do it, I'm gonna allow y'all to auction me off on bloody subtle Asian dating if you want to. I'm not gonna stop y'all.
Oh my gosh,
that'd be funny if that happens within the next 12 months.
Can that actually happen? Is this you actually giving permission?
I've already told them.
Okay, that's good.
That's the thing. I'm just like, y'all can do it. If you really want to.
I so want them to. I feel like it would be so funny.
It'd be interesting to see what comes up though.
What pictures are they going to use? That's what I think.
They have a pretty solid photo bank.
I think they would, because you always take photos. So I feel like they're going to have some pretty nice photos. I saw some the other night of you at the dumpling place.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, they could use that photo.
They could. Honestly, I'm not going to stop them.
Yeah. So it sounds like Josh 2022 open to subtle Asian dating, amongst other things.
Amongst other things.
I'm just like, things.
Fine. If I'm not going to do dating apps, just do subtle Asian dating.
Yeah. It's open to
just that.
anything.
I was like, I don't know. I guess it's time to test the waters, to be honest.
Yes. Could be 2022 could be that year of testing, dipping your toes in to the waters.
Yep. That's not daunting at all.
No, it's not. It's going to be from the outsider's perspective. It's just like going along for the ride.
I hate the hype.
Yeah.
Some days.
I know. Oh my gosh, we have been your biggest hype people.
I know you'll have. It's nice, but sometimes it's dangerous.
You're like, oh.
Like, no, why? Why did I even open my big fat mouth?
So good.
Yeah. I guess on the super, super shallow thing.
Yeah.
Is that for some reason I've been on a K-pop return to like K-dramas and
oh yes.
K-pop. So yeah, it's been interesting to return to that space.
Yeah.
Because I've also watched a lot of BL dramas. So queer content in the past 12 months. Specifically queer Asian. And I think that's just me being on brand once again. But to see it come out from traditionally quite, quite traditional, quite restrictive Asian culture to be able to even then produce it and distribute it is like quite like, oh, okay. Is that progress?
Yeah.
To some extent, I guess.
Yeah.
It was good to see it like across Asia.
Yeah.
But I think my super shallow K-pop comeback has been like all the groups that I grew up with.
Yeah.
Are now slowly coming back. I'm just like, oh boy, the return.
That's what that's how they're gonna get you. You're like the nostalgia.
Oh god, yeah. Feed off the nostalgia, but then they're like, oh god, who has been?
Yeah, who's like the ones?
Okay, I'll have to show you.
I was thinking like, but I only ever knew the famous ones.
Like who? 21. Oh, they're not going to come back. Unfortunately. Girls' Generation is thinking of coming back. But then the boy groups, I'm just like 2 p.m. I should show you. Shiny came back.
Oh, Shiny did come.
Yes, they did. It's been a long time. And it's just like, I grew up with these boys and girls. I'm just like, oh my god, it's long time coming.
It's kind of exciting though.
It is, and it's good. But also you realize like how much has changed in terms of, the industry as a whole.
Is in a better way? Because I know
I hope it is.
Before.
It was. And the reason why I stopped was because there was a whole host of anti-fan behavior like bullying and, things that led to multiple suicides that happened like in the space of 6 months. I was just like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
So I stepped away from K-pop and K-dramas for maybe 3 years. Yeah. And last year I came back and I was like, okay, I guess it's time to return and see if anything's changed. But in terms of queer representation, there's been quite a few number of queer dramas produced, web series produced from Korea. I'm just like, what is happening? Something sus. Something's I don't know. It's very shallow progress at the moment, but at least we get it. It's like a step in the right direction, I hope. But then it's just like, okay, so what? Are y'all actually bi or gay or what?
Like in real life?
Yeah, I'm just like, the mindfuck is still present.
Yeah. You don't know if in real life
they are.
Or is it
because for sure? I'm just like, it's fine, I guess.
Interesting.
Just thirst over.
Yeah, that's it. If at the end of the day it's all you get to look at some good looking you're winning.
Benefit.
I love
benefit. I'll show you later.
Yeah, please.
I don't know. What other questions did you have?
I think those were actually all my
Really?
questions. Yeah.
It's a suspiciously short episode then.
Those were all of the questions.
Wow, it's really short.
Yeah, that's not as long.
No, it's not.
Do you have anything that you want to add, like that you want to remember, like you want to capture now so that future you can remember what you were like in 2021?
What I was like in 2021. What was I like in 2021?
Who am I?
I know I said patience was a virtue, but I think the growth aspect also is important.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for myself. I think for my friends who've been around me for a while and who have been on, have seen me through this as well. But also, it's just that capacity for growth has to be there.
Yeah.
And here's the thing I value and appreciate the most is that this year has taught me to hope for the growth.
Mm.
And it's starting to pay off, which is nice. And,
Is that growth in yourself?
For myself, for friends, it's been interesting to see how that's changed. Like the friendship circles have changed over time. And I reflected on it, like on my birthday, I was like, the people that I chose to come are here for a reason. And I asked some of my friends actually, do you think I'm intentional in the way that for the various things that I do? So they said yes. And I'm going to ask you this question. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah.
Intentionality.
Yeah, I totally think you're intentional. I think because like we've had such deep conversations, like I feel like I sort of understand like the way you think and that you do a lot of things intentionally as you're very reflective and very like you think a lot.
I do.
Yeah.
And do you think that's detrimental though?
Well, coming from a fellow thinker, I'm so biased when I say no. But yeah, I don't know, because if, for myself, I guess I think that sometimes it is a detriment to myself. So I don't know if you see it as a detriment sometimes to you.
Yeah. But
I'm curious. Like, do you think at times it is a detriment?
I think it can be.
Yeah.
Like sometimes. But like if you catch me in a mood, then it's very easy for me to be baited.
In what way?
In like if I feel some kind of I hate being like super millennial or super Gen Z when I feel some kind of way. Because oh my god, this is what happens when I work around young people. I literally pick up all the slack. Yeah. I feel some kind of way.
Yes.
It's just very, very easy to buy into. I try not to overthink. But I have such an analytical brain as a start. I was in science, so that's very hard for me to turn off. But because, now I've done like counseling, so I know behavioral bits as well. It's very hard for me to turn off that brain. It's very, very hard. I can't. So I try not to buy into it. But if I do feel some kind of way, it's just there. And it's just like, why not take this adventure down?
Okay. I see what you mean. So when you feel some type of way, you're baited, your thoughts bait you into thinking.
And it's like, yes, let's go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and then you're like there thinking about scenarios or like things or like unpacking things that have already happened and stuff like that.
Bullshit. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a mood.
Yes, I know, what a mood.
It's such a mood. And I often think about like I've been like trying to learn like more mindfulness, and I think it helps with that. So because I'm very over analytical as well, and I think that mindfulness helps if that is something that is interesting to you, because it sort of I don't know, it kind of stops all the like overthinking. Yeah. But it's tricky.
It is tricky.
Yeah.
What was I? We had a very interesting conversation the night before about like. Because it was the usual suspects. And if you saw my story, obviously it was going to be the usual suspects. Yeah. But we actually had a very interesting conversation about how we perceive each other. And I want to ask you that now, particularly in this context. Yeah. What are your perceptions of me?
In this particular
I
context.
guess it doesn't have to be this particular queer context, but just
Yeah.
overall as well.
Yeah. Well, I do perceive you as someone that's like highly, I'd say, intelligent, because you have a lot of, I guess, thoughts and ideas, and very like you can think really deeply. Also perceive you as being really creative as well. And the word intentional definitely does come to mind a lot. And I don't know if that's because we spend a lot of time talking about like behavior and analyzing things like that, because we can speak on that level. I think like you have that skill to be intentional, because how could you not be if you're already thinking about these things and all of these different levels. Yeah. And I also perceive you as, I guess, someone that really likes being part of communities. Like I thought about that when we just had our last episode recording, and you were talking about how you were part of the Filipino community, you sort of drew back, but then you put your energy into universities. So I feel like you've always liked like being part of a community and like having like people around you that like are like-minded people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I perceive you. I feel like so observant, taking notes.
But no, thank you for that. But I think the usual suspects said that like when they look at the friendship circles that I have, like very diverse in terms of like background and all of that. But I guess expanding on that intentionality, I think that only has really been front of mind since the masters.
Oh, okay.
Since starting the masters and then progressing and then graduating, is that, and it's not meant to be like a bad thing to be intentional, but because I have to be aware of, I'm very self-aware, to some might say to a fault. But I have to be aware that the fact that, like I mentioned in the beginning, that I essentially have a target on my back, is that I have to be intentional with how I present myself or talk about, queer issues and a whole host of other things, because it's recognizing that my words have impact.
Yeah.
And the actions have impact as well.
Yeah.
And it's not burdensome. It's just acknowledging that I hold quite a bit of power.
And like responsibility, do you feel as well?
It is a responsibility. I feel like it really is.
Yeah.
Because, if you were, for example, queer, philo, but not out to the public, okay, I respect that decision. But wouldn't it be nice if you were visible? Wouldn't it be nice for younger people, younger queer fellows, to see, I don't know, maybe a healthy queer relationship? Because that's not something that is generally seen anyway, for starters, but more so as fellows, as Asian fellows. It would be good, right? But I can't pressure you. Can't pressure them to do that. They have to come to that conclusion themselves.
Yeah.
So it is tricky,
Yeah.
And it's difficult. And I can't help but think that sometimes that presents like me wanting to be visible. Maybe that is a barrier. Who knows? But I need to know that, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's really interesting. And I think it really feeds back into the whole, like, you are part of communities and, you surround yourself with diverse people. And so I think that's always front of mind for you, is like, what do your words mean to people? And like, yeah. But do you, I guess, have times when you feel like you can say like whatever you want and like you can just like, yeah, and not feel like,
of course,
of
course, alcohol is not required.
Good. I'm glad that you have times when you can just shit talk.
Yes.
Shit talk.
Which is it's funny. It's like, I wish I could go back and do podcasts more. That's one of the things I hope I can do moving forward. Is I think it was just a lot of adjustment to post-graduation life.
Yeah.
That I stopped. Yeah, and I wish I could do that more because it helped. It really did help. Because it was a form of audio journaling. It's just a very public form of audio journaling.
Yeah.
But it really does help.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I feel like that's the way that I'll always have to journal is audio or through Instagram.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Those are your outlets.
Yes. I hate writing.
Yeah.
Physically writing.
Yeah. Because you do type. You are a typer.
Yeah, I have to be.
Yeah. I guess
in my role, I have to type. I'm just like, I'd rather not. Can I just do other things instead to journal?
Can I just speak to you of your feedback?
Yes.
Speak your feedback to you.
Yes, I wish I could.
This is crap. What is this sentence?
Please, no, I don't want to know. It's the weekend. I don't want to.
Okay, let's not bring you back to
let's not
Friday.
traumatize me.
Monday to Friday.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. I wish that in the future I'll be able to have some kind of long conversation with my parents. I think it's one of my hopes.
Yeah.
That will take time, I think.
Yeah.
For me to process everything still.
Yeah.
But I guess there's other things. There's like my dad's parents. I think it's probably soon. It's probably time for them to know.
Yeah. Do you think you'll tell them in the next?
We'll see. Who knows?
Yeah.
They are getting old.
Yeah.
But I think I mentioned this in the first anniversary episode. Is that they have a very specific image of me, and I don't want to tarnish that in some way. But if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
They just have to, I guess, have those expectations dashed somewhat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably time.
Yeah. So it seems like, you will tell them. And I think this might be different. I can't remember what you said last time, but I think last time you did definitely have reservations for those reasons. And you told me they used to call you up and be like, "Do you have a girlfriend?"
Yeah, so I had to laugh it off.
Yeah. And I was like, just laugh it off. It seems like a few years have passed, and it seems like you're not gonna laugh it off maybe any longer.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But it would be just easier if it was just like, yes, this is my boyfriend.
Yeah, so you already had like somebody to also show.
Yes, I'm just like kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Come out as queer to them and then boyfriend.
And who knows? It could still happen at the same time.
God
willing.
Yeah. And I think, maybe that'll happen. I hope that it will, but we shall see.
That is it. I have enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah.
Do you have any final things that you want to
I think I didn't expect this to be more emotional than I thought it would.
Yeah, I always feel like I have to check myself because I feel like I bring people there a lot and I'm like, oh, I hope they're okay with this. I hope you were okay with it.
Oh, yeah. I guess it was just, it's just reliving that.
Yeah.
It's still, it's still very vivid.
Yeah.
But I think that's something you just have to learn to live with.
Yeah.
And if you already asked me like if there was a closeted person, what I would do, what I would say. And my advice would still be just make sure you have a plan.
Yeah.
But also, I guess, have people around you that you can trust. And trust is, I think, something that is also ridiculously important for me, relationship-wise too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very important. That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Josh.
Thank you.
For joining me and for asking me to do this 3 years ago.
I don't think the streak will end anytime soon, which is nice.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks everyone for listening to again, 3-year anniversary episode. So who knows? This might be actually the start of a new Let's Get Deeper season. But we'll find out in the near future. See ya. Thanks for listening to this chapter of Let's Get Deeper Volume 6. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to subscribe to us wherever you're listening, give us a rating and review, and share us to your friends. We are a production of Great Mates Podcasts. We also have a variety of other shows, so feel free to find us on your preferred platform. Just search GR8MADS Podcast, and also give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram. We would like to acknowledge the First Nations owners on the lands we are creating our podcasts.